What is up, YouTube? We got an exciting mock draft today. It's going to be a top 20. I got the Avengers of YouTube mock drafts here today. We got Bluechip Prospect, Ovi, Mike Bartner, and Pizza Guy, which is Rocco. I'm going to link all of their stuff in the description below and then have them have their moment with a little Hot Ones camera over here, here, and here thing that I do at the end of these. But for the first pick in this mock, we have Ovi at number one for the Islanders, and he's actually repping Islanders right now. All Blackhawks fans are cringing at the sight of this, but who are you taking at number one?
You know, as a Hawks fan, I really should be. I don't want to tip picks here. I should be leaning towards the hometown kid, but we know that's not the reality. Darsh is coming in, new general manager. He's not going to be swinging for the fences or going for that home run. He's going to go with the kid that's the slam dunk that every scout is talking about, being the best player in the draft, being a future captain in the NHL, the best kid in the draft. And I know Mike's just licking his lips thinking of a first pairing with Schaefer and Dobson. So with the first overall pick, the Islanders, they're taking Schaefer. There's just he's the pick. I don't see it going any other way.
I'm surprised you didn't say Adam Banach, but here we go. Here we go. I feel like everyone agrees. Yeah, yeah. Chicago definitely needs size with Adam Banach. Like that's the perfect profile. But Rocco at number
Mooney and Schmidt. That's a good
That's I should not have given you three. I knew this was gonna happen. Okay, Rocco at 2. You have San Jose. Are they making the pick here or trading it down to Chicago for absolutely nothing? You're on mute.
Mute Rocco.
He's thinking about it.
So, Ovi, Don, earmuffs here. That's why I was muted for a little bit. It's gotta be Michael Misa. There's a clear 2 of this draft. It's Schaefer and Misa, and then I feel it drops off a bit after that. We know San Jose is loaded with forwards, young forwards. They would have loved Schaefer. It didn't fall that way for them in the lottery. Michael Misa is the pick. I believe at this very moment, things could change, but at this very moment, he's the best forward in the draft, and he's a must pick for San Jose once Schaefer goes 1. So it's Michael Misa. And the Hawks fans like Ovi and Don are crying. They're wondering who's next. This is the guy we wanted. It's for you guys to figure out now. Misa at 2.
Bluechip Prospect, who do you have at number 3?
Well, at number 3, I think Chicago have a couple options here, but we've been hearing for a long time now that they are very interested in Anton Frondel. I even saw a tweet today with Corey Proman saying that many teams prefer Anton Frondel over Michael Misa, which makes absolutely no sense to me, but it is what it is. And since it's a mock draft of basically who we think they are going to take, I'm going to go with Frondel because it's probably who they would take.
I completely agree with you. I hope it's not the case, but I hope the Sharks think that Frondel is better than Misa. That's the only team we need to. That's the only team. Do anybody have anything to say about that?
I think Don might have been the one leaking that Frondel stuff, to be honest. That's all I got to say on that one.
I don't have that pool. I'm not Mike Bartner over there. I don't count them. But Mike, you are up at 4 with Utah, and there's a lot of talk here about maybe, I'm not going to spoil the pick. Who do you have here?
Yeah, I'm hoping that they select to trade this pick to the New York Islanders for Noah Dobson, but if they don't do that, I'm going to go with Brady Martin. That's what the hype is right now. Cam Robinson at the Combine was like, there's smoke around the campfire of them really liking Brady Martin. Would not personally be my pick for them here, but I can somewhat understand it from like a stylistic standpoint. Logan Cooley, more of like a finesse skill guy. Brady Martin, just like smash mouth hockey, the complete opposite. So I'm going with them trying to find the Sam Bennett effect is like real in the NHL right now. So they try to get their own Sam Bennett and Brady Martin.
It would just be so tough for them to take Brady Martin. It would just kind of look gross to me. He's a great player, great person, but I do not think he's top 5. Just for one quick question, Mike, who would you pick if you were in the Utah Mammoths head table?
I would go with Caleb Desnoyers. Bigger guy than Logan Cooley and more of a defensive guy. That'd be my pick here. I would go center.
Wasn't who I expected you to say, to be honest.
I'm pretty big on Caleb Desnoyers.
Thought you were big on someone else. Not loyal to where you're from. I don't know.
Someone else. That guy's slipping according to everybody. Go. I would
Let
go
him slip.
Denoyer.
Let him slip.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I think what's crazy is that before the U18s, like Martin was barely in the top 16 of most people, and now all of a sudden he's like 4th overall. I understand the style; it's an NHL style of play, but man, it could be a
winning
good
the
pick,
cup
but it
too,
looks
man.
like one hell of a reach.
Yeah.
It's
Don't you think? And as Ovi was just getting to, I believe, don't you think it's like whoever wins the cup becomes a trend, right? Like I feel like when Colorado won the cup, everyone wanted all this speed, firepower, whatever. Now Florida's winning a cup. Everyone wants the size, the jam. Give me those 16-game players that show up in the playoffs. So, I mean, I think the NHL, and especially as far as drafting, is often affected by trends. And right now the trend is the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I get it. It's just
absolutely.
No, I agree.
Was the
Like
GM,
it's
I would
kinda,
not do that.
The skill gap is too big in my opinion, but
yeah,
I can see
exactly.
you doing it.
This is why Haggins is probably going to get traded to the Islanders because Utah is going to make this decision. It's just going to happen. There's so much smoke about Haggins and Schaefer. We even saw it at Chipotle with Mike Bartner's post today. Shout out Chipotle with the Barton Bowl.
Pretty good.
But the thing is, I had Stephen Ellis on today. I have no idea how I landed that one. It was like a Pokemon. You got to catch them all, which I did basically today. And he talked my ear off on Brady Martin, saying that he was the best player that he watched this year. I mean, the moves that he were making was phenomenal. This guy just did coast to coast, dangling through 3 players and scored in summer scouting. And I really think that Sam Bennett was the perfect player to compare yourself to at the combine, basically, because he just won the Conn Smythe. So what Ovi was saying, you want a player that plays like him. And also Tom Wilson was also somebody that he compared himself to. So Brady Martin might go 4. I do not like it. I do not think it's all like great, but like Ovi's repping, I think the Islanders fans would love it. So at number 5, Islanders fans, I'm going to take him off the board here. Nashville is going with James Haggins, who's my favorite skater, playmaker. I just feel like this guy is going to put up some numbers. If Carbonneau, who's been rumored to go to BC with him, is going to play on the same line as him, I think that they're going to put up insane point totals next year. This guy had 37 points in 37 games against grown men. The first time I was on Islanders House podcast with Rocco, they talked my ear off on, playing against 22 to 25-year-olds. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, Artem Levshunov had 35 points in 38 games. Shout out that legend there. He's going to be the greatest defenseman of all time, basically. And I just feel like Haggins is that guy. He has a lot of offensive skill set. He's maybe not the best defensively, but, I think that Haggins is a true difference maker for a team.
I'm a little upset I sold you on him so much. Now he's coming off the board or too early for my liking. Doesn't fit my narrative.
I have him higher than who's going 3 and 4. Haggins is my 3rd ranked player for my board for a very long time.
Yeah, for Nashville, it's just best player available. They don't really have much in terms of blue chip guys. Whoever you think is the best, just take them.
I have no idea what Nashville's doing, but that's for another.
I don't think anybody does.
Trading a 4th for Hall, genius.
What is that?
Yeah.
I love Eric Holla because it's like, a throwback, but I have no idea what they're doing. This is the top 5 of the mock draft. It's on the screen now. So if you're watching it on iPad or you're at a Chili's, this is the board. At 6, we have Ovi. Who is the Flyers taking, or who are the Flyers taking here?
All right. Yeah. So I honestly expected Haggins to slip there. I kind of agree that NHL GMs can be very short-sighted, and whatever happens in the playoffs can dominate those war rooms. And I think a guy like Caleb Denoyer could potentially go a lot earlier in this draft because of that reason. But I think Philly would be licking their lips if they ended up with Denoyer at 6 overall. He's a big kid. He had a great QMJHL playoffs. You find out that the entire year he had 2 bum wrists, which, just shoots his potential up a little bit higher. There's lots of great things to be said about his personality coming out of the combine. So I know Philly is really looking for a center, so I think they would be running to the podium if Denoyer is still there.
and now they have two Desnoyers in their system with Elliott in the AHL.
Do we know if Desnoyers is going to need surgery on those wrists? Like he took an MRI before the combine, and
I think at least one. Like I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, and they're talking about that it's looking likely for at least one of his wrists.
Wow. And any word on how long he'd be out post surgery?
Yeah, no idea. They
give
just
us
made
your
him
medical opinion.
the captain of the Q, right? They just made him the captain of the Moncton Wildcats, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's slated to go back there, and what do you guys think about? Do you guys think it's overblown a little bit, this whole like the QMJHL narrative that like players in the QMJHL are just not at the same level as OHL and WHL? Like, what do you guys think about that? Because that's the narrative that comes out of Desnoyers. People always talk about we don't want a player from the Q, kind of talking like stars can't come out of the QMJHL, but that just kind of seems overblown.
As someone who attends a lot of QMJHL games, I would say that it is not necessarily overblown when we talk about mid-tier player, but when you talk about top-tier player, I think they are on the same level. So if you take a player like Nico Ishier a couple of years ago, or Caleb Desnoyers this year, there are all players that were, yeah.
Sorry, Halifax Moose said he was sick. I love watching him play.
Yeah, so they're all like top tier players in the queue, and I think they are on the same level as WHL and OHL players. But the mid range guy, then the Nathan Gaucher of this world, and all these things, like I think there's a case for the fact that the QMJHL is a little bit more open and points comes a little easier, which can be said also for the WHL in some case, right? It's very point heavy in in the WHL too. So I understand it, but I think at the top of the talent pool in the league, I think it doesn't matter whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree, especially when he was clicking at like 2 points per game in the playoffs, just absolutely dominating and being next level when it mattered most. I don't have really any concerns.
Yeah, I think it's
two wrists.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to draft a guy from the J20 in Sweden, I mean, the QMJHL is not worse than that.
Very true.
Valid.
What were you saying, Rocco?
No, I'm with these guys. I think it's overblown. I think the CHL as a whole, we've seen guys plucked from the Q, from the Dub, from the O. You could get great players out of all those leagues. So I think minimizing one's a little bit unfair.
Because Lafreniere busted, if we're going to be honest. He ruined it for everybody.
We're being honest. I didn't want to name names. But, you know, there is that one name that big bust.
Islanders fans are Islanders going after Rangers right now. I mean, the Rangers might lose their pick, so they might not even watch this. But, you know, the QMJHL has produced some really good teams that were playing in the Mem Cup. And I think that that's also something that hasn't been talked about a lot. I mean, when
they won way more Memorial Cups than the WHL has, like in the last 10 years.
Recent.
I think it's been like since like 07, like quite a while since the WHL has brought home the Mem Cup. It's pretty much always OHL or Q.
I think of the three leagues, it's definitely the league that produced the less amount of players, the less amount of NHL players. So that might be one of the reasons why, like, it's talked a lot about. But like I said, at the top of the talent, it's not a problem, but lower in the talent, I think it is.
You might have 3 Q players go before 3 NCAA players in this draft. So that's kind of something interesting to think about. But at 7, Rocco, you have Boston. Who do you think Boston's going to take here?
So I know who my boy Mike wants me to say, because he liked my line on our last mock draft where I said, they're going to take Jake O'Brien, and you're going to go in the Boston firehouses and see the O'Brien name, frame jersey all over the walls. But I think if this is how it shakes out, maybe you go for a little bit more of a home run here. And I think you go Porter Martone. It's just a guy, much like Jake O'Brien, honestly. I could just see him in that jersey, if that makes sense. Like that big power forward. Feels like the type of guy they'd like to draft. I worry about the skating. I really do. Like, to me, it's a huge holdup when talking prospects, because in today's NHL, I think if you're an average or below average skater, you have to be well above average everywhere else, because the game is so fast now. But I think a team like Boston that maybe feels they shouldn't be this high, their core is a little better than this, maybe they take the home run swing because they don't plan on being here too often. So you go with Martone. You pass up O'Brien, who I love, but if I'm thinking in the minds of Boston, I think they would go with Martone ahead of O'Brien, who would be my second in line here, the way things have shaken out.
You know, one point on Philadelphia that I didn't actually get to is I had Hot Take Hockey on yesterday for a mock, and he actually works for Brantford Bulldogs. And the consensus that I heard and him during the combine is that Jake O'Brien might be a lock to Philadelphia. And that's really interesting to me, but it's also not so interesting. Obviously, getting him with Mitchkov, especially on that power play, would be absolutely phenomenal. But if Jake O'Brien goes to 6 and Brady Martin goes to 4. I mean, there's a real possibility Martone is here at 7, 8, 9. I mean, there's a possibility. I mean, if the Islanders want to trade up to get Hagens, I think Martone might be the faller too. So maybe they try to trade up for him too if they're already thinking that way. But yeah,
I want to ask you guys too, do we feel this is probably the most polarizing player in this draft? Like I've heard him.
Yeah.
Con, I think when we recorded, you might have taken him for the Hawks pick.
yeah.
And then, once the combine came and went, I feel like he's fallen a bit since then. And I don't know if that's on him as much as it's on other guys rising. But like I've seen him 3, 4, and then I see other ones where he almost falls closer to the teens. So I don't think there's anyone with as wide of a range, but it just seems like one of those drafts where you could talk to one team that has a 3 to 6, and then you look at another team's 3 to 6, and it could be 4 different players.
I think that the draft at the top is very center heavy. So that might be one of the reasons why, like, if he doesn't go to Chicago, because everybody knows that Chicago wants some size and it could be a great player to match with Bedard. But if they don't go with him, then there's a fair chance that all the teams after that, all the way up to 7, 8, or 9, all go with centers because there's just that many high-end center in the draft. So that's why maybe I think he would fall. Because when you look at it, like, I prefer Martin over a guy like, let's say, Jake O'Brien, but Jake O'Brien is not that far behind. So, but he plays a center position, probably projects as center, does have some size too. So, I mean, it's likely that a guy like Jake O'Brien could go over Martin, even though, like, Martin's probably, at least in my opinion, the guy with the higher ceiling.
Yeah. A lot of guys with higher floors, though, I think, right? That's the other side of it. Like, and O'Brien, I think an O'Brien's floor is much higher than, like, no disrespect to Martone, but if the skating doesn't come around, he might never make it. Like, it's that far behind, in my opinion, at this moment. Like, if it doesn't improve, I'm not. And if he does make it, I could see kind of like a Kaliev type career where he has all this skill, but he just isn't the best.
He's got to hope that he's like
similar
Robert,
size, skill set.
Yeah, like Jason Robertson's a bad skater, Magic Chuck pretty slow, but you got to have elite puck skills and also be damn good defensively to make up for it. And I'm not sure Martone, especially on the defensive side of things, is up to that level.
Right.
I can't see Martone not figuring it out, especially if he goes to the NCAA level where you're skating 4 times a day. I actually talked to Chris Peters and Stephen Ellis about this at the combine because this is the question that ever was on my mind the most, and I couldn't get it out. It was just like, you've been watching him for 5 years, to both of these players. What is the deal with Martone skating? Has it gotten better? Could it improve? They said 5 years ago this guy couldn't skate, basically. Now, fast forward, he's a much, much, much better skater. They believe that once he gets into the NHL coaching rooms and get actual coaches that'll develop a plan for him in the summer and where he's skating every single day, plus he's going to become a lot better. This guy's not a slow skater. It's his first 3 strides, which is very important. But they also said, look at Keishon Aitchison. He's like a top 12 pick, and he's a worse skater than Martone is. And Martone has elite vision, incredible playmaking ability, a top 5 shot in the entire class. And if I'm being honest, so I think there's a little bit of, I think that teams might be overthinking the Martone thing. I have him 4th overall. I mean, I could totally see the Blackhawks taking him 3rd, and if he doesn't get taken 3rd, I think he falls to 8, or 9 or 7.
Too. If Hawks don't take him, he's going. For me, Martone, the thing is, it's like I was really high on Martone before Misa came around. He was the guy I wanted on the Hawks. He just seems like if he does pan out, he could be that perfect complementary player to Bedard. The thing about him that I'm really interested, I just know he is like hockey obsessed, incredibly hockey obsessed. Like this guy is gonna work to be the best player that he can be. You're not gonna have any like commitment issues or attitude issues, and I feel like he's gonna be a smart player. If the skating doesn't translate, that certainly limits his ceiling. But yeah, I say it's either Hawks or right around here. I think Boston would be pumped to walk away with Porter.
And Mike, did you have anything to say on this?
Yeah, I've kind of come back around on Martone. Like 2 to 3 months ago, I probably had him in like that 6 to 7 range. He's maybe 3, 4, if not 5 at this point. Like I'm starting to believe that, as you said, I think the skating is only going to improve. It's never going to be a plus, but everything else offensively is such a plus. Where I think that he's going to figure it out to a degree.
I completely agree. I think that this whole chat probably agrees that Bartone is 3 or 4. If I had to
That's who
pull it,
Blackhawks fans want, man. If you ask Blackhawks fans on Twitter, that's still who they're gunning for, like a majority anyway.
yeah. But we also want McDavid, Jason Robertson, Leon
Yeah.
Draisaitl.
Oh, and they're all coming. They're all coming.
Yeah,
So
they're all
just wait.
coming. McDavid on a 4th line checking role, I think it could work. But Bluechip Prospect at 8, you have Seattle. Who are they taking here?
I don't like this pick because every year I think they're going to go for a defenseman high in the draft, and they always go for a center or like we don't know if Berkeley Catton is going to be a center, but I mean he does play center. So now they have like Matty Beniers, they have Shane Wright, they have Berkeley Catton in the pipeline. I mean they have Stephenson that they signed for long term. They just traded for Marchment, which is not a center but still a forward. I think at some point they gotta go with a defenseman. And at that point, I think it's going to be a player. I think it's going to be Radim Merka, a right shot defenseman that is unique. And they're going to take it from just in front of the Sabres.
So. Yeah, I think it's Merka here. They're going to keep him in Seattle. 6'6", right-handed defenseman. Can't make these in a lab. Has really good offensive instincts, but I don't think he showed that. Played in Czech since he was 16 or at 16, and he had to play against players like Yager. Had a great combine moment where he said he was trying to hit him, but someone asked, "Are you trying to hit a 52-year-old?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess so." So like this guy wants to be the best Czech defenseman of all time too. So I think there's a lot of upside here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think swinging for the fences in terms of defensemen, you're not going to pass Schaefer, find a guy with higher upside than Radim Merka. And as you see on the mock draft, June birthday, I think Kashawn Atchison is like a September birthday, so like 9 months younger. That does matter to me. So I think that the upside, I really like it for Seattle.
That's a great point.
Does it make sense? Like I have Jackson Smith higher on my personal board, but for some reason I can just see them taking Merka. Like Seattle and Merka just makes sense to me.
Right-handed.
I think it's the intrigue of the size too. Like Don said, you can't teach size, and it's really hard to find. So he's one of those guys. If he figures it out, it's going to be scary. I mean, 6'6". What did he measure at the combine? Was it 6'6"? A true 6'6"?
6'6" and a quarter. Yeah, these heights.
Yeah, that's a monster.
And they got Alexiak and Adam Larson already, so you know they're they've been since the start.
That's true.
Learn from those two guys.
Bunch of sea monsters back there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like Adam Banach might die playing that defense if Merka's back there. But that's
not going to be easy.
And they
I don't think he makes it, so it's okay.
They did trade for
Marchment.
6'5", another big ass dude.
Maybe he could play right-handed defense for them. I have no idea what they're doing either. But Mike, you are up with the Sabres at 9. Who do you think they're going to go?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of mocks, and I think I've got stuck with the Sabres a bunch of times. And like every single time, whoever is selecting for Seattle goes with Radim Merka because that would be like the biggest home run, considering Buffalo badly needs a right-handed defenseman. I'm going to go with the guy that I usually go with instead. I think Jake O'Brien has a higher ceiling, but I'm going to go with Victor Eklund, that I think is a guy that's really been underrated, especially of late, considering what he did in the second Swedish tier, like 0.75 points per game. Obviously, his brother's already a gamer. I think he brings a decent amount of physicality for his size at 5'11", and I think his skill is kind of underrated to a degree. I see no reason why, maybe not an elite first liner, but a high-level second liner for Buffalo for the next 12 years or something like that. I think you just lock in Eklund.
There's not a pick that screams more Buffalo than Victor Eklund anyway. If 5'11", 6-foot type of guy that has skills but might not be high end first line, that's their stuff.
Yeah, Constantineous 2.0.
They have Eklund for a few years and then trade him type thing. Is that what you're saying?
They're trading
I
everything.
hope for
Sharks
Buffalo's
and-
sake they start figuring things out. It's getting to
They better hope they make the playoffs, man, or they're just gonna lose everybody. Like it's
I
getting
know.
ridiculous.
Rebuild number 4.
Yeah, this one's the one.
Eklund is 170 pounds, but he plays like he's 200, not
Mhm.
afraid to make a hit to, or
Like
he's a
take a hit
dog.
to make a
More
play.
physical
dog.
than Porter Martone, probably right now.
Oh man,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
How about
Well,
elite
Zach-
prospects? How about elite
Zach
prospects
Benson-
having him
sorry.
over? Oh my bad,
Mhm.
man. Elite prospects having him over Frondell.
Me too.
They do?
Frondell was like 13th.
I've heard of one where Eklund was over Frendell until that.
Yeah, the draft guide has Eklund at 9 and Frondell at 13.
I'm not gonna
13 now,
lie.
they moved him back one spot.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not super high on Frondell, but that's low.
Yeah, that's what scares me is that polarization. But
Elite Prospects actually had Frondell at 18 in their
Yeah.
December or January rankings, and I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" And then
That's
Frondell kind of started
overcorrecting.
falling. 18, that's crazy.
to
I'm at
take him
12,
at
and then
3.
And then he had
Oh,
like
yeah.
18 points in his final 10 games, and they're like, okay, we'll bump him up a little bit.
And I was just talking to Byron Bader, who does the hockey prospects cards in
Oh
the
yeah, he is
algorithm.
one, right?
He has him one. Yeah, 86% star
Mhm.
probability on his board.
Who does he have
Crazy.
one? Frondell?
Frondell, yeah.
He has him at 1.
It's
Yeah.
NHLE,
Schaefer
Rocco. It's
too.
all
Yeah.
math.
Yeah,
That's
on models and stuff like that. No eye test going.
I
in
like
there.
that
like-
model.
I like the Schaefer disrespect, but let's move on.
It was 2.
Yeah.
I still don't like it. I still don't like it.
I don't
17
like it either.
games. But
Don,
I don't.
jealousy
I don't wanna
ages you. Drop the 17 games thing, all right?
You played really well in the World Juniors in that one game, though. It's me at 10. Obviously, Anaheim, I think, takes Jake O'Brien. It's the faller. I don't think that he will be there. But the thing is, if he is, Pat Verbeek is going to probably run someone over to get to his phone because he's going to call this in. Maybe, Pittsburgh tries to trade up if Jake O'Brien is still there because he grew up a Pittsburgh fan. And, I think it would be awesome to get Jake O'Brien in the same jersey so he didn't even have to switch from Brantford. They wear the same color in Pittsburgh. But Anaheim is going to get their second Beckett Seneca in the last 2 years. I think that this guy is just going to go a lot higher because he's a right-handed center. He has a really good vision, great playmaking. Every pass this guy gives to someone else is just flat. I could make a lot of jokes here, but these are very flat passes that this guy's making. Nick Lardis was a 71 or 72 goal scorer this year, and they didn't even play on the same line. It was primarily on the power play. This guy just saw him every time he was open. I think that if you get him on a line with, even Leo Carlson, or, they have a loaded top 6. So maybe they take defenseman if Merca's there. Maybe they go Aitchison or Jackson Smith, but O'Brien is just somebody that's so high on my board that you gotta select him here.
I think that's
Yeah,
a home run pick if he's there.
Yeah, and especially with him, physical profile as we see here, 6'2", only 172 pounds. If he packs on like 10 to 15 pounds of muscle like he should, there's so much like untapped physical potential here.
Yeah, a lot of runway to develop, and also at number 10, O'Brien is such a value pick. It's so great, like compared to, let's say, Martin at number 4, night and day.
I'd rather have O'Brien at 10 than Martin at 4 at any day of the week. Like, I would just trade out.
Trade
If I was
back, yeah.
Utah, just trade out. Do whatever you can just to try to get assets and still get Martin.
Well, Utah's in a bit of a special situation. They're already close to the playoff. Like, they were like 1 or 2 points behind the Habs, and the Habs made the playoffs. So obviously it's a different conference, or they're not in the playoff, but they're close to it. They have a lot of young players coming in with Simashev and Boot eventually. They have a lot of good players. Logan Cooley is only going to get better and more dynamic. So, they're well on their way to the playoffs. So they were gifted that 4th overall pick. They can do whatever they want with it. They could go with best player available, or they can go with a player that they need, that they really want on their roster. And I think that's basically what they're doing here with Martin at number 4.
And Frank
Mhm.
Saravalli actually said today on Daily Faceoff when they asked him just, do you see any movement in the top five? He said two of the picks could move in the top five. I think Utah could certainly be one of these two picks. I also think that, Isles fans are probably going to get excited, but I think that they're also a shoe-in to try to get Haggins again. And I think that somebody that could go up to the top five could be Montreal with 7 picks in the first 82. They have 16 and 17. I've said time and time again for the last 2 months, Desnoyers is the perfect fit for the Habs 2C role. So maybe they try to come up and get him, but I just feel like Martin should not go for. That is just my thing. I will not I will die on this hill. Martin should not go for. But Ovi, you're at 11 for Pittsburgh. Who do you think they're going to take here?
Well, Pittsburgh's in an interesting situation because, was it last year of Malkin coming up? Uh, Sid's still there. I don't know if they want Sid to leave and he doesn't want to leave. What's going on there? But they have to prepare for a future without Sid, without those two bona fide centers. And I think they're going to go with one of the sexier names in this draft and one of the best names in draft history. They're going to be going with Roger McQueen. Um, without that back injury, he's certainly one of the higher picks in this draft. 6'5", he's got high skill. And just looking here in the elite prospects, it's shades of Evgeny Malkin. So how perfect is that? I just think it's kind of a swing for the fences with the back. There is certainly with Caden Lindstrom and all that stuff. The back could be an issue, and I could see him falling farther than that. But I see it as a sexy pick. I see it as a swing, and I think it could really hit. And I think Pittsburgh is looking for that. They need the fans to get excited about something, and they need to prepare for that future without 87.
Yeah, I agree. Take a massive swing with this. Most likely they'll be picking in the top five, like 3 out of the next 4 years, or top seven. So like this pick isn't gonna make or break their rebuild one direction. So you might as well go for the highest upside guy by a mile at this point.
Yep, agreed. I like the pick.
I think too. I think McQueen, if he wears number 95, that's a top 10 selling jersey in the NHL. So marketing right there might be worth it alone.
Especially if he's in a red jersey, like the Red Wings or something, Lightning McQueen. I obviously wish the Lightning had their pick this year just so that they could grab him, because that would be the best thing in the world. But it's kind of like Will Smith and Philly. But the thing is, I want to ask you guys all about this, because if Pittsburgh has the 12th pick, obviously New York Rangers, who is I mean, we have two Islanders fans, so and one person wearing an Islanders merch. So I don't know how this is going to go, but do you think the Rangers are going to give the Pittsburgh Penguins their pick at 12?
Yeah, I wouldn't go into next season unprotected just in case of shit kind of. I know Drew's going to get aggressive and stuff, but there's just too much risk to go in with an unprotected pick in next year's draft.
I think I haven't heard a ton, but from the little I've heard, I think they're keeping this pick. I think they're keeping it, and I think they're keeping it because Drury's mindset is sort of all in. Like, we're going to be good next year. We're going to find a way. You got rid of Kreider. There's a couple other guys they might still get rid of. They sold a bit at the deadline. Zibanejad's not going anywhere, but a couple other guys I think might be on the move. And I think Drury's really going to go for it. I think he's going to try to find ways to get creative, build this team a little bit. And I think they see themselves as, this was more of a one-off than the norm for them, at least the way they see themselves, I feel. So I think they are going to keep this one and give up next year's with the mindset that next year's might be more so in the 20s. They make the playoffs, maybe they're like, just their minds, not what I think, but maybe they're like a 3 seed in a weak Metro division, make the playoffs, and that pick isn't as great as this one. Because in all honesty, I think 2026 might be a little deeper, but I'd be surprised if the Rangers were picking this high again. I think even if they miss the playoffs, I think they'll be like just miss the playoffs type where they're picking 15, 16, like that sort of area. I don't think they're going to be this high again. And I think that's their mindset as well.
I mean, that was some great answers. I think it could be a generational mistake if they do keep the pick. I also could see why they wouldn't. So maybe they don't even know yet, but it's good insight on both of the both of you guys. So for
Imagine
Rocco,
that's
you're
how
here.
Pittsburgh lands McKenna.
It's
Only
in
thing.
division makes me like I'd
Well,
say
it wasn't supposed to be because remember they
Yep.
sent it to
Oh yeah,
Vancouver,
true. Yeah.
and then Vancouver sent it to Pittsburgh, and I could only imagine what the Rangers room was like. Like that front office when they saw that pick get sent to Pittsburgh, they must have been so pissed. Like if I was in their shoes, I would be livid that that pick got sent to Pittsburgh.
Should be able to put a condition on this asset cannot be traded back to the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's legal at all, but that would
No,
be
but
an interesting wrinkle.
yes, but I'm up at 12 down.
Who are you taking?
So I kind of alluded to it before. You know, they traded Lindgren recently. I think Keandre Miller is going to be on the move soon as well. And I know it's not immediate help, but it's somewhere I think they do need help down the road. So with this pick, number 12, which I believe the Rangers will keep, they go with Jackson Smith. Another polarizing player, another guy that you ask a number of scouts. One guy will love him, the next guy not so high on him. I think he still has some high upside there. I think if you're in the Rangers position, knowing you're keeping this one and sacrificing next year's pick, you go for someone that has a good amount of upside like a Jackson Smith. So I just see it as a really nice fit. And I think that's the pick for the New York Rangers.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think this is a really good pick. I think they're going either Keyshawn Aitchison or Smith.
Mhm.
Smith's my higher defender, and he is going to be
That's
going to
good
Penn
value.
State.
Oh, Don sources.
Well, I mean, he is going to Penn State.
Oh, Penn
Yeah.
State. Oh, I thought
Committed.
you said Aitchison was going to Penn State. My bad.
Oh, no. Sorry. No.
Okay.
I meant Smith.
No,
I had
you,
no
you
idea
said
where.
Smith.
No worries. But Bluechip I feel like that was it. Everybody is just okay with Smith going there. So we'll go to Bluechip Prospect at 13. You have Stevie Y's seat for now. Maybe it's
Ooh, Yiser plan.
an
Yiser
interesting
plan.
one.
Their typical pick would be like a Malcolm Spence. I'm not going to give them a Malcolm Spence. We're going to try to go with a little bit more upside, and I think that's what they'll try to do too. Like I have three players that I really like there. It could be Justin Carbonneau, could be Carter Bear, could be Lyndon Lakovic. Don't go too fast with your Carbonneau there.
I thought you were
Honestly,
picking up.
Carter Bear is just so good. The injury stuff, I don't know how it's gonna go, but I think Carter Bear is like he's such a hard worker, physical player, and has so much skills at the same time. It's basically the player they need. Oh, yeah, I'll go with Carter Bear there.
Yeah, I was about to take Carter Bear for Columbus up next. I like him a lot.
Carter Bear's great.
So fun to
Player.
watch.
And he's already back like near 100% after the lacerated Achilles. No concern with that. Great player.
Let me ask you guys, if he doesn't get hurt, where do you think he goes? Like numbers wise, not what team.
Maybe
Top 10?
12.
Yeah.
So
This
you
is
don't
a
think
deep draft.
Carter Bear, I think he could, if he was healthy, man, he could go a lot higher. There's some people who are like very, very high on Bear, like top 6. Where did Elite Prospects have him? Elite Prospects had him at like 7 or 8 or something.
I could see Buffalo taking Bear for sure.
if he was
Kinda just like
healthy, I agree.
higher
That,
upside
that
than
seems like
Eklund.
a Buffalo pick, but I think it's a little risky with the health stuff that high. I mean, the difference of what is Buffalo 9 to now we're at 13. That feels like a bigger drop off than it actually is, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if you could risk it at 9, but I like the risk at 13.
Like
Yeah.
there's like Eklund at number 9 in our mock draft. Like between Eklund and Bear, two players that like obviously Eklund's a much better skater, but there's more worries about the size at the NHL level at 170. If he can catch up and get 15 pounds on that body, nobody knows. But Bear is already like 6 foot, 185 or something like that. So he already has like that strength, that build. Like, is he that much worse than Eklund? I think, in my opinion, they're a little bit different, but it's pretty much on the same
They're both
tier as
dogs.
Eklund. So, yeah, exactly. So I think maybe Eklund would go before. I think maybe Bear would go before Eklund in that case if he never got injured.
Yeah, Carter Bear's player comp is Brennan Hagel. Every team kind of needs that. He plays with hard skill. He's very tenacious. I think he was more upset that he missed the playoffs than anything. I mean, he dodged a bullet with that lacerated Achilles. If it was truly full tear of an Achilles or of any sort of kind, if it was a very serious Achilles injury, this man would have been out 8 to 12 months and wouldn't be able to skate. He's already back on ice and going to participate. Like Mike had said, he is near 100%, or I mean, to a point. But I mean, he dodged a bullet there. So I actually think that he would be in a similar range. maybe somebody does take a mate. I think him and Merca are kind of close or in a similar tier. I don't think he's above O'Brien or Eklund, but the thing is, like, this is a weird draft. You kind of take who you want to take. This is a very Stevie Y pick.
Yeah.
But Mike Bartner at 14, you got Columbus. First of two picks in the top 20 for Columbus. Who are you taking here?
I'm going to go with who Bluechip also mentioned. I'm going to go with Justin Carbonell. Great skater, high level goal scorer. I think you just throw him with Kent Johnson or Adam Fantilli, and he can be a very productive 55-ish point, 25-ish goal kind of guy going forward within Columbus's top six, middle six. So yeah, for Columbus, you got 2 first-round picks. You get a winger, and I think with that 20th pick, you go with more so of a need, maybe. But I think Carbonell probably is the best player remaining based on what we have listed. So I think you just go with him.
I was
And he
really
could be
hoping he
going.
fell to me at the Habs.
I think they're hoping for that. He would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's a nice pick.
But
Supposedly they were really hard on him in the interview. That's what I'm hearing. I said supposedly that the Habs were really, really hard on him in the interview. Yeah. And like the way they were describing it, at least from what I've heard from Arp and Basu, was that they were really hard on him, probably because they really like him. They want to see how he reacts to different type of situation and pressure on him. And because obviously there's all this stuff, like people maybe a little bit overreacting about the body language thing and stuff like that, but he's just like a competitor and he wants to win. So he doesn't like losing. So, but yeah, supposedly they were pretty hard on him. Same thing with Lakovic. I heard they were pretty hard on him too.
interesting. That's some good scoop right there. Carbonneau could go to the NCAA level, kind of play Ryan Leonard role too for James Haggins. I think that would be phenomenal. I think that Carbonneau could honestly go top 10 if a team falls in love. He is one of the best shots, if not the best shot in the entire draft. Can shoot from anywhere. Shout out New Wave Hockey Link because he put me onto this earlier in the season. I just feel like this guy is going to be picked a lot higher than we think. So I think Columbus would be a really good option. I did not know about the Habs being hard on him. It's a little interesting tactic that they do, but I'm sure they asked him what kind of animal he would be if he was an animal, because they ask that question every year. But for another Canada team that, you know, we have a run of four of them coming up, you know, USA continues to win the Stanley Cup, which I don't know how that keeps happening. You know, Vancouver at 15, I think is going to run up for Lyndon Lakovic here. I really like Lyndon Lakovic a lot. I feel like this is a kid that, like, he has a lot of soft skill upside, 6'4", like doesn't really have a filled out frame, doesn't really use his body, but he has a lot of offensive ability. This guy's hands is absolutely incredible. I really like his shot. I think that from a playmaking standpoint, he's just a really good playmaker. He's good vision. I mean, his edge work is phenomenal if he's ever trying to turn around or turn to get a puck and then shoot it just in one stride. I feel like this guy could, cover a lot of ice. I don't think that he understands how to use his body yet. I asked him earlier in the season, like, what was the biggest adjustment going into the WHL? He was just trying to dangle through multiple defenders, just trying to not really play a 200-foot game. He's working on it. He is somebody that is so intensely working as hard as he can, like a Porter Martone on his weaknesses. This kid obviously won with Moose Jaw the year before, then had a terrible season this year with Moose Jaw. Not him personally, just the team. And then they made him captain like even though he had an injury as well. So I just feel like there's a ton of upside with Lakovic. What do you guys think with the 15th pick here?
Yeah, I think for Vancouver, you'd want a center, but none of those top centers are going to fall to them that we listed before. Like the best after this is like Braden Coots, who I like a decent amount with like a high floor. But I think if you're Vancouver and you're hoping that you're not picking this high next season, I think you take a swing on a guy like Lakovic.
Yeah, and it's, you can only pick who's available, right? And as Mike said, they're going to go for one of these guys. They're hoping maybe a Carbonneau or someone else falls, but in all likelihood, these are the guys remaining. So taking that into account, I like the pick for Van.
And what I'm hearing, I was on RG Media, the Sean Starr show, and they're tapped in with Amico. He said that there's probably a chance that Vancouver doesn't select here. A lot of people have been saying that. I don't know what they're going to do, but it seems like Vancouver is heavily shopping this pick for immediate help. And I'm not somebody that likes to trade first round picks, especially in the mid first round. but because I'm a prospect guy, obviously. But if they can get some decent value, I could see somebody jumping up here.
Breaking,
I think
the prospect Don does not like trading first round picks.
Prospect on likes prospects.
Yes. Breaking.
Confirmed.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, according to I saw this report earlier today. According to Mike Russo, like the Athletics Wild reporter, they offered the 15th overall pick for Marco Rossi.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And an
You gotta
unnamed player,
add more.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think some kind of roster player. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
that just goes to show that they're looking for immediate help.
They're
I
shopping.
really like that.
Yep.
Like that package.
Vancouver, if you're watching, Blackhawks will give you TJ Brody and a third. What do you guys think about that? So Ovi, we have you at the first pick for Montreal because they have 16 and 17. Who are you taking for Montreal here?
This one's an interesting one to me. I was really hoping Carbonneau would fall because it just seems like the kind of that perfect fit. There's two names that are really sticking out for me. I can't really decide, but I think I'm gonna go with Braden Coots. I think that center, fill in that center role. He's a dog, one of the higher competitors in the draft. And there's one thing that really sold me on him is recently me and a buddy were reaching out to a bunch of kind of lower end defensive prospects and random prospects on social media just to do a quick interview. And one of the questions we would ask is, who is one of the hardest players you had to compete against? And a name that consistently popped up was Braden Coots. And that kind of surprised me. He was a player I looked at a lot for the Hawks for their later pick. But I think he could be a great addition in Montreal. He's a hound on the forecheck. Like he's an absolute dog. I know I've said that about a few players, but this guy is a one-man forechecking machine. I think his player comp was Trocheck. And Trocheck has been a key piece for that Panarin line and them having success. So I think Coots could be a big time player next to a guy like Demidov or Slavkovsky or whoever it be. But yeah, I'd go Coots. I was thinking about Hensler, but we're gonna go with Coots.
Yeah, I think after his U18's performance too, I'd be shocked if he was still there at the 25th overall pick for Chicago. Probably going top 21.
Yeah, no, I've let go of the idea that he'll fall
Trade
at
up.
25. I'm hoping for Nestrasil myself, but we'll see how that goes.
Because he's basically the last center that's around 6 foot with a safe floor, right? After that, because you have players like Kolresny, but Kolresny is like 5'10", 5'11", doesn't have great boots, so you don't know, like, if it's gonna work. There's a player like Jack Nesbitt, but like, is he really, like, does he have a top 6 potential? Like, that's a fair question. So I think, yeah, if you want to go center, Braden Coots is basically the last one on the list that has like top 6 potential and has like basically every attributes are above average, right? Individually, the hands, the shot, the playmaking, the skating, the compete, everything is above average. It's just like he didn't seem to put it all together this year. Like he has 63 points in 60 games or something like that. So a lot of people say it's because he played he was playing in Seattle, right? I'm not not crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was a bad team, right? But Lakovic played for Moose Jaw was like even worse, and he did put more than a point per game. So I don't buy that argument. It's just there's work to do, but I think there's potential with Kutsa as a top 6 player.
And it says D for him on the spreadsheet. He's obviously a center. I don't know why it says that, but yeah.
He's such a like dog on the forecheck, man. Do you think like you could see a situation where he doesn't end up as a center and then he could be like a Zach Hyman in the top 6 where he's just he's such a good forechecker, man. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's already, according to this, 183 pounds, like 5'11". That's a stocky boy.
Yeah.
At the combine when I saw him, he was stocky
as a Ryabkin though. 5'11", 210. That's Suzuki stocky.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
the reason why he's on some no trade clauses.
He said Ozempic. But one thing I will say about Coots is that I say all the time, so my viewers are probably going to get upset. He goes to Chipotle every single day. That is consistency right there. He gets double meat, double protein. I mean, that is awesome. I think he's getting the Schaefer Haggins Bowl. I think he's buying both of them.
Man who knows.
No Chipotle's in Montreal though. I remember that when like Nick Suzuki won like the lifetime at the All-Star game, and they're like the nearest Chipotle is 4 hours away.
Yeah.
That DoorDash is going to get expensive.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? But yeah, I think Montreal is going to probably take either a faller or someone with upside here. Maybe they even try to trade up for a Roger McQueen or a Caleb Desnoyers. I know that they like Carter Bear as well, and also Logan Hensler. So you never know who Montreal is going to take, but they've been drafting absolutely incredible. And it is surprising that he was under 6 foot. I mean, he was a lot shorter than 6 foot, so that was kind of surprising to hear and see during the combine. So maybe he falls, but Rocco is at 17. Who is Montreal taking with this pick?
So I'm going to piggyback off Ovi because I kind of decided, because this is how I think Montreal is going to work it. If you go a forward one pick, maybe you're looking more D the next pick. I think you mix it up a little bit, play it safe in that way. I thought about some home runs. Like one player I really like that I know I'm higher on than a lot of people is Cullen Potter. And the reason being, I think he's just like such home run potential with him. I know he was ranked one of the highest skaters. So if Ovi was going to go D, I probably was going to go with the home run pick of Potter, which might have been the biggest reach so far, but I really like the player. But because he went Coots forward, I think they're thrilled that Aitchison is still on the board, correct? Which I think a lot of people at this point in the draft, a little bit shocking, I would say. So I think they're ecstatic with these two players. And Aitchison's, if they keep both, because I feel with every team that has two in this draft, there's always the potential they couple move one for a now player, combine both and try to move up, do whatever they want to do. But if they do indeed keep both, I think it's Aitchison. I hope I'm not butchering that name, but I really like the pick. I think Montreal would be very happy if he was there right here at 17. Run up to the podium, run to the phone and make the call, and then you're good.
At the combine, they did not interview him, and he has no recollection of talking to any Habs staff over the whole season.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish you told me that before I made my pick. I appreciate it. I would have gone Cullen Potter, but all right.
But it could be like the Habs trying to play their poker game like they did with Demidov last year. Yeah, like one of the head scout is Russian, so they went to Russia to talk to his family and talk to him over and over again, but they did not go to the Russian combine to interview him. Like they wanted to basically show they're not that interested. But so maybe it's the same thing with Case and Aitchison, or maybe they're just not interested at all. I don't know. I know they love Cameron Reed, but for Aitchison, it's basically they're signaling that they don't want him. Basically,
and you know more so than me, Bluechip, but it's not that unusual for a team not to interview players and then end up selecting them. Correct? Like it's something that happens quite often.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so. It's not out of
it's not the end of the world. It's just
it's not as likely, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, I guess we could say.
Yeah, and I think for Aitchison, just that he'd only have to be like a smash mouth third pair guy, considering they have Gooley, they'd have Hudson. He'd excel so much in that role. 18 minutes a night of just being like an energizer bunny, like terror to the other team. I think that they definitely should be looking at potentially drafting him here if he's available.
And this guy put up 26 goals in the OHL this year, and he brings the body. I mean, he's physical monster. As I think his floor is one of the highest out of any defenseman. I could just see him at a third pair role. Obviously, he could be a top four defenseman. He could go as high as he absolutely wanted to, but I don't know how translatable those 26 goals are, but it doesn't matter. It's 26 goals. My one question is on Montreal. Would they take another left-handed defenseman, or are they going to prioritize a right-handed one with Logan Hensler? I don't know, but Aitchison is the guy you take before Hensler, in my opinion, so this was a good pick by Rocco. It's best player available. I think Montreal fans are going to be excited if they get Coots and Aitchison, but I think some of them might be upset. That's the fan base it is. Every fan base is like that. Bluechip Prospect, obviously you're the Habs fan, but you got 18 with Calgary. Who are you taking with this pick?
It's a hard one. I have absolutely no clue who Calgary are interested in. They basically change their draft like model every single year, so like there's no way to really track or know what they want. But I really like the reach for potential that Rocco was talking about, Colin Potter. I'm not sure if it's their style of player, but last year they went for. Yeah, there's that, but I mean, yeah, it could be, but I mean, it's not my problem.
They
So,
did
yeah.
True,
I
very
mean,
true.
most of the time, it's not a problem. It's a problem like once in a while, and honestly, who cares? But yeah, I think Colin Potter is such a swing for upside, and that's basically their entire draft last year with players like Henry Muse and Zane Perek and all the high upside might not make the NHL type of player was basically all their picks. So I think Potter fits that. Like he's such an amazing skater. I don't think there's anybody in this draft that skates as well as he does. Four-way mobility is just crazy. It's beautiful to see. And he has the shot, he has the handling, he has the compete. It's a work in progress. He's small, like I think he measured at like 5'9.5" or something like that, which is not ideal, but it's a swing for upside, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think
And
for
Harry
Calgary. For Calgary, who is probably never going to tear it down, you got to take swings like this. As long as you believe that he'd be willing to stay there long term, I really like the pick.
Yeah, I think that. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I know I'm personally higher on Colin Potter than a lot of guys, but I've also watched him a good bit. Up and coming program at ASU. It's easier for me to have eyes on the NCAA guys. I think NCAA guys at this point, because of they're playing against older players, they're playing against bigger players. At times, I think it's easier to project. And I know the knock on Potter is that he's small. But for me, it's a little bit more comforting that he's playing in the NCAA and playing pretty well. So if he was playing, and this is no disrespect to Canadian Junior, but if he was playing in the junior, I'd be a little more afraid. I'd just say, I want to see him against more mature players. But the fact that he's played against more mature players and has done well, it's a little more comforting to me to select a player on the shorter side in Colin Potter.
And he was trusted with like 20 minutes a night. So
right.
It's not like he was playing 13 minutes or something like that. Like Benzagi. Benzagi was playing like 12 or 13 minutes a night, but Colin Potter was actually trusted with like 19, 20, 21 minutes every single night. So
at a young age, which in the NCAA, not that many young players. Because to play in the NCAA before you're draft eligible alone is pretty impressive. So the fact that he was trusted with so many minutes, I think people are overlooking him. Like he's one of those players a couple inches taller. I think he's borderline top 10.
For sure. you make him like
and you never know. These guys are so young. They could grow.
Yeah.
And I know that this is Ovi had talked about him as a Blackhawks kind of person, or Blackhawks pick at 25 just because of his incredible skating. Colin Potter actually talked about the Blackhawks quite a few times during the media scrums. He said that he likes Connor Bedard a lot, watching him, smaller players. But one of the things that I saw on the NCAA kids that I just want to talk about Rocco's point for a minute, they are built. A lot of the guys are a lot bigger than the Canadian junior kids because they're working out 3-4 times a week and you're not burning as many calories playing in all those games. His arms and upper body is absolutely enormous. And it's not that he has a incredible muscles, it's that his arms are just big. So whatever his workout plan is and his nutrition, they have this guy playing where he can go to the middle of the ice. I have no concerns about him playing in the NHL, in my opinion, if he continues to develop like 2-3 years out too. This guy has incredible feet. I mean, when you see him on skates, he's the most natural skater in the entire class, in my honest opinion. Like 1, 2, maybe even 3. Like top 3 is Colin Potter in this class. I just feel like he is an absolute steal if he can make it down to 25. I know that's kind of who me and Ovi want, other than Nestrasil, and there's some other guys in there, but I think Potter is going to be a absolute steal. I've been calling him Colin Harry Potter, and I keep saying you're a wizard, Colin, because this guy he plays with his stick like a wand. I mean, this guy is basically a wizard, in my honest opinion. I think that he actually should have wore glasses with a little scar by his eye just for the marketing.
I think he has some Frank Nazar in him. Like Frank Nazar is a fantastic skater too. I don't think he has the exact same type of inside-driven type of play, even though he tries. But he's a first-year NCAA guy. Frank Nazar was doing it in the US and TDP, which is 2 different level of hockey. But it's like for me, there's a real possibility that Potter is a Frank Nazar type of guy. He could be nothing too, but I mean, the possibility is there. Yeah, he's such a great skater. It's amazing. The burst of speed, they're like out of this world.
I agree. And anybody else want to talk about Colin Potter, or should we move on to Mike Bartner at 19 for St. Louis? Or we're going Mike Bartner at 19 for St. Louis.
Okay, yeah, for St. Louis, no forwards. They're set in terms of forwards. Kyrou and Thomas are still relatively young. They just got Holloway, that's a stud. Snuggerud, Dvorsky, Neighbors. Bolduc was very good this season. Like no forwards, no forwards. And at this point, I don't think there's a forward that has really dropped that really like you potentially not reach on, but just take. So I'm sticking in college. I'm going with Logan Hensler here. Yes, they did take a right-handed defenseman last year in Adam Juracek, but he was injured a lot last year. He was injured a lot this year in the OHL. Only played 28 games. Just looked it up and only had 12 points. So I think you go with Logan Hensler. Maybe not the highest upside kind of defenseman in this draft. I think the points were a little bit misleading because Wisconsin was such a bad team, but just a lot of projectable traits in terms of being a solid second pair right-handed defenseman, which is so in demand in the NHL nowadays. That I think that's a solid pick for St. Louis. I think Logan Hensler makes a lot of sense, both fit and the overall talent.
So really good pick. I'm going to pull up the spreadsheet. Does anybody want to talk about? Yeah, everyone is speechless after that.
Such a good pick, Mike. It was such a good pick.
Standing ovation.
I might need a minute. Holy moly, that's a great pick.
You got to recalibrate after that.
Okay. Obviously, I'm at 20 for Columbus. This is the last pick of the top 20, and we're going to be doing a full 7-round mock draft here today. This is a surprise.
No.
No, this is the last. This is the last pick of this mock draft. So I'm going to take Václav Nestrasil just because I feel like he is somebody that could be taken in the 20s. And the thing is, I feel like he is somebody that has just a ton of upside. I think that he's not even on the board. So, yeah, he's not even in the system. But Václav Nestrasil. Yeah, he's 6'6". He is somebody that has a ton of upside. I feel like every single scout you talk to and you ask whose favorite player is in this class, it's always Václav Nestrasil. This guy just has a ton of offensive upside that's untapped. Had 4 brothers. One was drafted in the 3rd round to the Red Wings. He grew up in a hockey family. This guy has only gotten better. I think he was the 2nd best player in the entire Muskegon Lumberjack, facility this year with Ivan Ryabkin. I think Lawrence was the number 1 player. Then it was him. So I really like Václav Nestrasil. I feel like he would be a great pick for the Hawks, but the reason I'm picking him for Columbus is they have 2 first-round picks in 14 and 20 in this mock draft. So I just feel like that would be a good move.
And they have a lot of success with their big players coming from far from the NHL. Like Václav is not a finished product, not even close.
No,
It was the same thing with Marchenko, same thing with Voronkov. Is that his name? Voronkov? But whatever. The other Russian guy, like all their big guy are panning out, and they just, I don't know. I feel like they know how to develop those guys, so it's a good pick for them. It's a bit high, but it's a good pick.
Yeah, I love Nestrasil. I think he's such a buzzsaw, nail gun type of player. They compare him to Alexei Prochas, who just had an absolute amazing season. For me, I just love him because he would bring something to the Hawks that they really lack. And like Bluechip said, I really don't think he's a finished product. Like I think he's got a lot of room to grow. The thing with Nestrasil I really like is he's got a knack for the big moments. Like when the going gets tough, he wants to pick the team up and put it on his back. Like he doesn't cower. And a 6'5" frame. Very hardworking kid. I think he's going to be a player. Absolutely. I think he's a lock to be an NHL player, and then we'll see what his ceiling is. But hopefully he doesn't go that high because we want him in Chicago, Don. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it too.
I hope so.
I like it too because, as we discussed, like at this point in the draft, take the swing. Like, don't go for the safe guy that you're like, maybe he could be a 3rd liner, maybe he could be a bottom pair defenseman. I like to take the swing route. Like, you could find 3rd liners, you could find bottom pair, mid pair defensemen when you're building your team. Go for the home run swing. Go for the guys that if they hit their ceiling, they're the type of guy you build around. So this is one of those guys, big boy, like Bluechip said, he's just so far from a finished product. And if it all works out, that finished product.
So it's 6'5", only 187. Like he's gonna fill
he's gonna be 210 plus. I would think.
He might be 220 here, boys. He might just be firing people through the end wall.
Is he staying in the USHL next season or going to college?
That's a good question.
Don, he's going to UMass. He's going to UMass. He accidentally actually broke the news in my interview, and then I wrote an article about it, and I didn't know it was breaking news, so I accidentally broke the news, and then later, me and his camp are cool. They actually did not care. But that was a little tidbit of me earlier in the season when I had no idea what I was doing. But we're gonna go and look at, because I had to mute because my dogs always love Václav Nestrasil. Every single time I talk about him, they bark because
he's such a dog, man. That's good.
Yeah, great great transition. This is the top 20. I put it up on the screen, and then obviously comment down below who you guys think is right or wrong. I feel like you can't go wrong in this kind of class because it's so weird. But now we're going to go into the portion of hot ones. There's cameras here, here, and here. Tell everybody what you guys are doing. What do you guys have next? And just a little bit about yourself. We're going to start with Ovi, and then we're going to go Rocco, Mike, and Bluechip.
Geez, all right, boys. Ovi clap bomb. You know to follow me on Twitter. We'll just call it Twitter. We don't need that X nonsense. Me personally, I'm preparing for the Armageddon that's going to ensue when we draft Frundell. After the Demidov Levshinov situation last year, Hawks Twitter and draft season can be a scary place. So I'm just hunkering down, getting ready for the hurricane that's about to come. But super exciting. Hawks are going to be in the trade market. Like I said, my dad's a huge Islanders fan, so he's actually pretty excited for the first time. Super happy to see the Islanders actually embracing the youth movement and actually making some of those moves. No more, well, I suppose he's still there, but no more Engvall deals. So happy to see the Islanders in the right trajectory. Yeah, really though. And just happy to see what the Hawks are doing. I really appreciate the boys having me on here. It's been a great experience. I really appreciate it, boys.
Yeah, so Don, first off, I want to thank you for having me. We've done a number of videos together. We haven't known each other long, but we've grown close. Like, we talk, we laugh. Always appreciate being on a video with you. So it was very enjoyable. You could follow me on Twitter at Pizza Sports Guy. You could follow our pod at Isles House. And obviously, big time Isles fans, all Long Island guys on the pod. We're super excited. We won the lottery. I mean, I was looking at Radim Murtka and Jake O'Brien highlights for about a month and a half, and then suddenly you win the lottery. And I'm really only watching one guy. Don makes the call. I get prepared for a top 20, So very exciting times. Looking forward to it. Maybe little rabbit out of a hat, get the hometown guy later on. Maybe some smoke there.
I think something big's gonna happen. I think this draft.
Barty knows we're going for Shagans. That's what we call it now. So let's hope, let's pray. But good times in Islanderland.
Yeah, am I up next? Don, thank you for having me as always, dude. I'm sure we'll hop on something after, like breaking down the draft. It's gonna be a fun next 8 days going over it. Where you can follow me, Mike Bartner, on Twitter, TikTok, and Beyond Hockey on Instagram, and over on TikTok as well. At YouTube's Mike Bartner. Podcast in the box. I'd also plug Rocco's Discord, Patreon, if you want the Islanders scoops, especially. They are plugged in. That is a great place to be if you're an Islanders fan.
Thank you.
And we're getting Schaefer, we're getting Hagens, we're getting McKenna next year.
And then we're getting Chipotle, baby. We're getting Chipotle right after. Sorry, Nick Suzuki. We're going for the Chipotle, baby.
2033 is the next Islanders dynasty, lock it in.
Well, as everyone else, thank you for having me on, Don. I was happy when you texted me. I was coaching my kids' baseball game, and I received a text, and I was like, "Oh yeah, cool! I'm getting ready for a mock draft tonight." I did not expect it, but I was like, "I'm always down for a mock draft." So thank you for having me on. You can follow me on Twitter on BC Prospect, on X or Twitter, however you call it, or you can watch me on YouTube. I do basically prospect stuff like prospect scouting reports and top 32s and all this good stuff. And we also have a podcast together now called On the Clock. So yeah, so if you can follow me at Bluechip Prospect on YouTube or BC Prospect on X, and that's it.
That is awesome. Thank you guys so much for all your kind words. The check will be in the mail for that.
Yep.
And
Over.
that's on me. That's on me. But thank you guys so much. I'm going to link all of their stuff in the description, especially the TikTok for Mike, because that thing is blowing up. I love watching his stuff. I also the Discord and the Patreon for Rocco, the Bluechip Prospect, and the Spotify, because we are now live on Spotify. And Ovi, all of his stuff on X is incredible. You got the Bedard jersey over there, even though he's wearing an Islanders jersey.
Shout out Goonsday.
Yeah, definitely our group chat that we have. But thank you guys all coming on. I know you guys need to get some sleep because we have a big couple 8 days, and then you're gonna get Haggins and Schaefer there. So a couple great days are coming. Thank you guys so much, and see you on the flip side.